10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris Aceto, on this October 16th, 2017 afternoon. Chris, we had a busy weekend in bodybuilding. We had a bit of an upset at the Phoenix, I guess you could say, Europa 212 Pro Show. Dwayne Quamina defeats Sean Clarita. That's a good question. Who? That's the question. Who is Dwayne Quamina?
Who? We know now, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I mean, someone just had texted me that so-and-so, what's the guy's name again, Dave?
Dwayne Quamina.
Dwayne Quamina won the Phoenix 212. And I said, who is that? And they said, you'll know soon.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I was like, oh, yeah, right, whatever. And then they sent me a link to some pictures, and I was very impressed.
Yeah, he's good. He won the USA light heavyweight class in 2016. And he's certainly a lot bigger than light heavyweight right now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he looked great. Tremendous.
He's got crazy muscle separation and detail. And that's very impressive on stage, even if you're not the biggest guy. He's certainly not the biggest guy up there. Him and Clarita, really match up pretty well, shot for shot. I don't think that Clarita lost to him size-wise, if you had to say, a lot of times, everyone says, oh, Sean's so much smaller. Yeah, he's a little smaller than Dwayne, obviously. He's not a light, he's not in that 200-pound area. But Dwayne is not tremendously big, but he's got crazy detail. And once again, I always say, you say it all the time too, conditioning wins shows. Well,
I mean, Clarita's small for himself, I guess. But when you put him next to people, I mean, he's small in like height and structure, but, he's got enough muscle on his body and it flows enough and it's round enough for him to be a super impressive 212 guy. He just ran up against somebody who's also super impressive and probably just like a little rounder, and a little bit I think wider with just kind of like a bigger person.
Yeah, well, Sean is a really short, guy. He's got tremendous proportion and everything like that, and tremendous, muscle bellies and everything like that. But Dwayne is like very similar to him and just bigger, like you said, structurally and height wise. So it's more impressive, and he's got like Kai Green-ish separation to his muscles. You could tell this is a guy who could be 30 pounds overweight, and if he flexed hard enough his quad, you'd see lines in it. One of those guys.
Yeah.
You ever see Kai in the off season? Kai has just separation in his quad in addition to striations.
All you have to do is look at Kai from pictures from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Look at pictures of Ramy from Pittsburgh. How good he looked, actually.
He's another one. Ramy's got muscle separation in the off season, even when he's got body fat on him. That's why I think people get bamboozled when he's at 340 and they're like, "Wow, look at how good shape he's in." Well, it doesn't even matter because that's just the way his muscle looks. When he locks it out, it doesn't. He can still have body fat on him, and you'll still see that separation.
Yeah, no, you're right. Or I'm right. Someone's right.
We're both right in that sense. I have to take my hat off. I like to see new talent. I still think that Dwayne needs to put on size, which is good because now he's qualified for next year's Olympia. He could theoretically take the whole year off, try to add another probably 5 or 7 pounds of muscle, and come back into that Olympia looking really dominant. Because he's got to bring up his back a little bit. I think it could be a little more developed. Obviously, back can never be too big. His legs are really good, but they could even be bigger. Especially in the adductor compartment. So I think that Dwayne is going to be maybe shock a few people, come Olympia time next year. So it'll be interesting to see.
Jose wanted to go, but it cost him to go, he said.
Yeah, he texted me because he listens to everything we do, and he said to me, I heard what you were saying. I should do the show, and he goes, I figured it out. I'll spend more than I make in prize money if I win the show, and he goes, that's only if I win the show. I said, yeah, I guess you're right. What do you have to prove at this point? The only reason to do it would be to make the money. he's already qualified for the Olympia, so it's not like he has to requalify. I'm sure he'll do the Arnold anyway, and I guess it doesn't make sense to leave the door open for a couple other guys to win a few shows. But I know Jose; he likes to win, so I thought maybe he would just do it because try to collect another W under his belt. You know, how many more does he have left? But didn't he say next year's his last year?
Well, he alluded to that this year would be more or less his last year.
No, he said.
But I think
more.
he got the. Well, I think he got the bill. The bills came in for remodeling the house, and I think that put a poo-poo to sitting on the couch in the new house and just drinking Schlitzes.
Yeah, well, I know he wants to start a family, and I know that Jose likes pregnant women. Right? He finds them very attractive. He was complimenting my wife too much.
Jose.
Yeah, he was complimenting my wife too much when she came to the show last time and she was pregnant. Yeah, I think. Look, I think Jose can go another year, and then let him, sit on the sidelines and crank out a couple little Boston masses.
Well, what happens is, is he getting worse?
No, he's still really good. Look, I always say quit on top. Don't wait till you start getting, worse to quit. So I say do one more year at your best, and then just bow out. Let these other guys, young guys, fight it out.
He'll do one more year and he'll win the Olympia and then he'll.
Yeah. Milton Martinez takes third, Cal Blanchard fourth, Rixio Tapio fifth, David Robinson sixth. Speaking of Jose, my client and friend Susie Blaylock, 60-plus-year-old figure competitor.
Yeah, I know Susie.
You know Susie. Susie was telling me how she's going to this. I guess you could say. It's like a medical conference up in Massachusetts, in Boston, and she's like, I think I'm just going to take the week off from, or whatever many days it is from training. She's like, I'll just try to find something to do. Maybe I'll go see Harvard or something like that. I said, what are you, nuts? You're in the best gym area in the world. She's like, I am. I said, the Boston Mass lives there.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Jose Raymond. She's like, oh, I didn't even think of that. I said,
why
don't you get some training sessions in with him?
She call him right up?
Train. She's like, I didn't even think about that. So I'm going to give her Jose's number. I'm sure she'll probably train with him every day she's there. And I'll put her through the ringer. I said, you went now all the way out to California, you trained Charles Glass. You got to train with Jose Raymond on the East Coast. She's like, I didn't think of it. She never thought about that. She's like, you're probably right. I probably would rather go to the gym than go sightseeing. I said, there you go. I just remotivated you. She was a little low in motivation, so now she's going to be all motivated. And the funny thing is that Jose and her both listen to the show, so I'm putting this together, guys. Jose, work her hard. She likes it. All right. In the fitness category at the Europa Phoenix show, Ariel Kadar, our good friend, wins there, so she requalifies for next year's Olympia. That's a nice little way to end the year. I always say that, it's always great if you can leave the end of the year with a qualification for the Olympia, so it's like, what, it doesn't really matter how I do anymore. It's, kind of like I did what I had to do. So.
Well, you get the stress over with. You qualify.
Yeah, no, it's true, because who the hell wants to deal with that crap, I wouldn't want to do it. Do you know that Dwayne Quamina only won by 1 point? I didn't know that, or by 2 points, I should say.
Well, it looks very close.
So it was very close. It was a very close competition there between Sean and Dwayne. I think Dwayne just had a little bit more wow. That's the best way I could describe it.
Well, 1 point, it probably could have gone either way. Looking at pictures, to me, I thought, this could go either way.
Yeah, you're right. We also had a show in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I wonder if that's the first time they've had one there. The Central USA Pro Bikini Show. That was won by Elizabeth Yisrael, with Keisha McKenzie second and Michelle Hurst in the third position. Congratulations, those ladies. So, we have a lot going on. We had also the Ultimate Grand Prix in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, right in my little backyard here. And this is weird. They only had a Masters figure 35 and over. What a weird show. Tamara Ribeiro Bailey wins that. She's from Trinidad. With Katarina Tarbucks in second place, and Viviana Lomonarco in third. So it's a strange category. I'm going to hold a figure masters 35 and over. It's kind of like, what is my girlfriend? I'm just going to give my girlfriend find out what division she's in, and I'll just run that show for them there. I don't know if that's the case. I'm just saying it's an odd division to run. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's nothing else you can add to it other than it's odd.
Yeah. Well, we're not really going to do a lot of contest coverage in this show today. What I really wanted to talk about, I've been waiting all week. Last week, Chris and I were doing Nasser El Sonbaty impressions, and we were telling stories about Nasser. People found it very funny and amusing, and we were telling Milo stories as well. And I had heard that Nasser's last interview, really, he did was on a radio show that John Romano and Lee Priest had run, years ago. I don't know if it was the last one, but it was one of his last ones, at least taped ones, that is. And the show is gone, and I contacted John, he didn't have it, and Lee Priest didn't have a copy of it, and it's off the VPX website, which is who was hosting it at the time. So I didn't know if I'd ever find it, and I mentioned it, and one of our listeners, contacted me and sent me the show. So I don't have time to play the whole thing, but maybe I'll play snippets, here and there, for the next couple of radio shows we do. But I got to play the part about Greg Kovacs. Now, I want to just preface by saying Greg Kovacs was the largest bodybuilder of all time. I mean, he would have made Rami look like puny. Now, granted, Rami's a better bodybuilder, has a small waist and better proportion, but Kovacs was enormous, and he was a good friend of mine. A lot of people know that. I spent a lot of time up there with him. He came down here and visited me, but we talked mostly on the phone, and he was a good guy. And for some reason, Nasser and him had this thing going. I don't know. Nasser thought that Kovacs, was jealous of him, and he was always bad mouthing Kovacs. I don't know. And Kovacs never said a bad thing about anyone. That was the weird thing. So they were asking Nasser about Kovacs, and some of the things Kovacs had said, because Kovacs had told stories about that Nasser had, got stuck in Canada, which was true. He didn't have his green card, wasn't processed properly, and he stayed with Kovacs. And Kovacs fed him, supposedly gave him, I believe Greg, gave him, steroids to use while he was there. Because he was there for like a month, I think. And they took him to the gym, and they really opened their house up to him. And I'm sure they asked him 5 million questions, because I know that's the way that Greg and his ex-wife, Kim, were. They were prying him probably for information the whole time he was there. But I'm sure Nasser enjoyed it, although Nasser pretended he didn't. And Nasser seemed kind of ungrateful for it. So, Greg was, telling Nasser stories about all the stuff that went on there. And Nasser, I guess in this interview, was defending himself. So I'm going to play the clip. It's a couple minutes long, but I think it's worth playing because it's pretty funny. All right, let me see if I can make this happen here. All right. Hold on.
Because I couldn't leave the country. I was supposed there to get my green card visa application, and Greg was so nice to offer to stay at his house over the weekend because the embassy was closed, so I stayed over the weekend. But the main reason why he had me there is to interrogate me about drugs. And for sure, he's not very talkative. He can say only, I'm 375 pounds and big. And there's no communication. So most of the time I communicated with his wife, and he was sitting naked around, on a chair, basically the whole day naked. I'm not his boyfriend, I was just a guest. I mean, if he has other sexual desires, it's all okay, but it was pretty rude and insulting to sit there naked like his dog was, and then eating already thousands of calories in the morning, and then not saying anything. So I tried to make communication and so on and so on. So finally, like he said, as I have heard, that he gave me drugs or whatever, or provided this. So this is all bullshit. He's a way too selfish person to provide anything with anybody. I wrote everything down what he could do for the contest. I told his wife 3-4 times everything, sometimes 5 times. She asked me what he should eat during the photo shoot, before the photo shoot. Then the afternoon, when she came from work after I spent almost as a hostage the whole time there, in cold, snowy Font Hill or whatever it was in Ontario. She came and he was doing his number 2. Then he stepped into the bathtub with help of his wife, and she used the hose and cleaned his butt up. So he couldn't reach himself.
Wait. Come on.
I'm serious. John and Lee, I'm really serious. I witnessed it. He couldn't reach himself. He I wouldn't have ever told anybody the story. But when those two said that I couldn't tie my shoes, which is really ridiculous, and then they said a lot of other things that I was hiding information because I didn't want him to become Mr. Olympia. To be honest with you, he has the potential of even being able to become Mr. California, in the top 5 being in the Mr. California class. And I was afraid of him becoming Mr. Olympia. I mean, this is ridiculous. And both are new pain users, which is okay, it is good. I think both have been taking new pain, injecting it. And then I had another story, a funny story. When I was sleeping there in the basement, his wife wanted to have sex with him. He was upstairs sleeping with her, and so she asked him, to take his clothes off. He said, I can't. And then finally she helped him, and then finally he decided, I can't do it because I have to train tomorrow 5 sets of chests. I mean, this man is so handicapped, this is unbelievable. By the way, he never drove me to the gym. His wife drove us to the gym. I had to pull him out of the side seat in front because he couldn't fit in when you pushed him in, and he couldn't barely fit when you pulled him out there. And then his wife was loading basically the weights up for him, and taking the weights down. And this is a champion? I mean, he's handicapped.
I can go on and on, but I thought that was typical Nasser at his best.
He
the detail of his stories, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're funnier, Dave, imitating him than he is in real life. So
yes, because he really does.
Because he's with it there. He's
yes.
very, he's
yes.
very. I didn't even know that was him because usually he talks like you talk,
yes.
imitating him with like out of breath and slow.
Yes.
He must have lost weight there because he was always out of breath.
Chris, I was later in life. I was much lighter and I had more energy, But that was Nasser. Nasser would love to he'd love to skewer people. He neglected to mention that he was in Greg's house for 6 months. 6 months, a month, maybe more, eating Greg's food for free, and definitely taking his. Nasser didn't go off any drugs while he was at Greg's house. I'm sure if Greg's wife took a bottle of testosterone up, Nasser was not going to not take the shot.
Well, I did hear that he didn't have the ability to tie his shoes at his heaviest.
I can barely tie.
I can produce an affidavit of that.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. At my biggest, this is how I would tie my shoes. I'm very flexible, right? What I'd have to do is I'd have to blow all my air out, like I'm doing like a vacuum pose almost. And once I blew my air out, then I would suck my stomach in and I would lean over to tie my shoes. True story. That's how I do it. Or if I wanted to make it easier, I would just stand up straight because I could lean and touch the ground with my toes because I am very flexible. But I couldn't. If I was sitting down, my abdominal and chest area was so big I couldn't lean over. And I'm sure a lot of top pro bodybuilders are like that. It's very difficult. But I was able to tie my shoes. But Greg was, if I was 3:15, Greg was 4:15. So I mean, he certainly couldn't tie his shoes. No way. He was.
No, he was legit 400, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, easy. That 400 he was comfortable at. He would get heavier than 400.
I remember seeing him up in Toronto, and probably had to be like 25 years ago. Him shoulder press in 405.
Yeah, Greg was very, very strong. People don't realize that. He used machines, but he used a ridiculous amount of weight on the machines.
This was Smith's machine. I think you better use Smith when you're going to put 400.
Well, that's what he told me. He said, "Dave, I'm afraid I'm gonna kill myself because no one can spot me." And I didn't think about that. I said, "Well, that makes sense. Think about it. You're going to get under a bench press with 600 pounds on it, and you're going to bench press. What if you get stuck? Who the fuck's taking it off? And his wife would spot him. Really, he didn't even need a spot. So when he was on the Smith machine,
she according to Nasser, she put on all 405 pounds on that shoulder press.
Yeah, she did. I got to hand it to Nasser on that one. He wasn't lying.
She could have got a job at Oxygen Gym.
She would definitely take him. She would go to the bathroom with him. I don't know what she would do in there. I don't know if she wiped his butt or not. She might have, But Nasser had to have the whole thing. Yes, and she would pull the garden hose out. And she would put him in the hot tub, and she would hose him down like a beast, And
because Nasser is, if you say one bad thing about Nasser, if you say his condition was better last year than this year,
yeah,
that's it. He'd hate you for life.
Yeah,
He'd
you're on the shit list.
Who said it, when they said it, and he'd assassinate you for the rest of your life.
You know what he was mad at me about? I didn't know this. I found out because at one of the appearances we were at, and he told me. He said to me, I'm not very happy with you. I heard that you were accusing me of putting synthol in my calves, and I take offense to that. I said, who told you, Josh? Because Josh Freeman was friends with him. He's like, yes, Josh told me that you say. I said, I told Josh, I said, if Nasser didn't put synthol in his calves, he's a real genetic freak. I said, so that was a compliment to you, I said, Nasser, because you're telling me that you don't use synthol, right? No, I do not use synthol in my calves. I said, well, then that means I'm giving you a compliment. Those are the freakiest calves I've ever seen, up close, for someone who doesn't use synthol. Oh, okay, I see. Oh, see, Josh, he's not very... Why? Sometimes he could be a dummy because he doesn't understand inflection. I said, exactly. So... we were good after that. At least I thought we were good in front of each other. I don't behind the scenes.
I was just going to say,
fun of me.
You leave the gym and 2 seconds later.
There's this part in that interview that I didn't play where he says, and maybe because he knew I was friends with him, maybe Palumbo could do his Frankenstein experiments on Kovacs. I call him the Kovacian monster because that is what he is. He's like Frankenstein. And Palumbo could do his experiments on him and to see if he could get him to 500 pounds. Oh, my God. Unbelievable. One of my...
Nasser was one of Joe Weider's favorites.
He said that he was making... he started at $40,000 a year, and then he was up to over $100,000 a year contract at the end of his career. Not many guys made that much money from Weider.
I got news. Joe kept them under contract far longer than people.
He probably deserved it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
JP Fuchs said that.
No, he was being paid well over 100. Well, I know that for sure.
Who, if in the Joe Weider movie that Dan Solomon's doing, if they needed Nasser in there, who could play Nasser?
Well, you could, but they'd poo-poo that idea.
I'm not thinking of.
Would say, no, not Dave.
Dave. I wouldn't be allowed in that production.
But we can make him up. We can make him up, and he can bulk up a little bit, and he can get back to looking like Nasser. He can wear the glasses, make one eye go one way, one eye go the other. He can do the voice perfectly.
Okay. Oh man, Rami could maybe play Nasser. Nasser would be greatly offended if he from up above if
another Egyptian.
Rami, if John Rami.
They could have got. I would have been happier with Dave Palumbo playing me.
Yes, at least
he has a sense of humor.
Yes, his voice is pretty close to mine. I must admit, even though I do not like to be mocked.
Well, let's do our own RxMuscle casting call for the movie, even though we've already cast it. We got Sergio Oliva playing himself.
Right.
I said the best imitation of Joe Weider is Samir Bannout, so Samir can play Joe Weider. We got to get the little handlebar mustache.
Who would play? Well, they got this Colin Van Moger playing Arnold. Who's going to play Franco in the movie? Or if Franco even has a part in the movie?
But definitely, Jose could play Franco.
There you go.
They're the same height, right?
Yeah, and he's got a good sense of
humor. He's got to pay for his furnace. His furnace is broken, he told me today. He's freezing up in Massachusetts.
I told him, I said, move to Florida. If you're listening, get your ass down to Florida. You got nothing up there in Boston. I know you just bought a house. Sell the freaking thing and move to the warm weather down here, for God's sakes. Don't go on the East Coast where all the other 212 guys are. You need to be in seclusion by me over here on the West Coast.
Okay, so who else is going to play? Who's going to play?
Well, it's the life of Joe Weider. So who's around Weider? Who would be around him? That
Ben
would have
Weider. Ben. You got Ben.
Yeah, and they got some other guy playing Ben. I don't know. I don't know who the guys are that they got playing the
well, Raphael would be offended that he's not going to play Ben, probably. Because, who knows Ben? Or Rob Wilkins could play Ben. You got to have someone who knows him well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe Rob Wilkins can play himself.
Let's see. Who else would be in that? You got Joe Weider. Larry Scott. Is Larry Scott going to...
Yeah, who would play Larry Scott? I don't know if anyone would. Who's a main, in Arnold's day? Who is the? I guess Ferrigno. Ferrigno's got to be in the thing, right? Who would play? Lou would probably want to play himself, though. I could play Lou Ferrigno, maybe. But I'm not.
Who's going to play Art Zeller? People don't even know who Art Zeller is.
The photographer, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he took all the photos of the black and whites of
Arnold.
You name it. Arnold and the gang.
It'll be interesting to see how they cast the movie. I know they're filming it already because Dan's been putting up stuff on. He's going to send me some preview stuff to use on the TV show. We'll see what happens. It looks they mocked up a whole.
Can we review it, Dan? If we don't give it a good review, are we banned from where?
We'll call it like we see it. It looks like they have. It's a high production quality because they created wherever that town in Canada that Ben grew up. It looks like. It looks
Montreal.
They're not shooting it in Montreal. They're shooting it in some southern city down here. I think in Georgia or something like that. But they recreated the whole town. It looks exactly like the 19 whatever it was, 20s or 30s. I don't know. Crazy 40s maybe. But look, I always say if you're going to do it right. Someone else was telling me what other story? Oh, they're doing a. I'm trying to think who told me they're making a story about Dan Duchesne. Oh, I know who. I talked to Chris Bell.
Who is?
Chris Bell called me. You know who did Bigger, Stronger, Faster?
Yeah.
He's doing some kind of documentary on. I don't even know if I'm supposed to reveal it, but I'm going to anyway. He's doing a documentary on the nutrition and the supplement industry. So he wanted to come down here and talk to me for the movie. I said, yeah, absolutely, no problem.
That should be a good movie.
Yeah, I told him he should have done that.
It's going to cover all the scammers, and scammers.
It's going to talk about that. It's going to involve because he's into the whole ketogenic diet, and he he had heard me on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast talking about the ketogenic diet, and he wanted me to help him out with it a little bit. But he's so interested in that he's really delving into the nutrition and supplement industry. I told him, I said, look, I got a great idea. You should do a movie about how this whole country bamboozles everyone into thinking that you need to eat carbohydrates because we grow corn and wheat in this country and we don't know what the fuck to do with it. So we're trying to sell.
You don't know that already. That's not like common.
I said, call Scott Connolly, get him on the show. He'll give you a piece of his mind how they're poisoning us with.
Dude, we got cows who don't eat grass, they eat corn.
Exactly, and birds that don't eat seeds, they eat corn.
Well, one day I was eating cereal, and my wife said to me, "Did people eat that 40 years ago? Cold cereals."
No, probably 40 years ago, maybe 60 years ago.
No, because I usually eat like oatmeal in the morning, and so I was just being lazy and eating cold cereal.
Yeah, that's just sugar. It's crazy.
She was surprised, like, "What are you eating?" I said, "It's cereal."
That's what one of my clients today said. I'm doing a cheat meal, Dave. How does this sound? I'm going to have your whey isolate, your isolized protein and water and cereal. I said, cereal? That's a pretty boring cheat meal, if you ask me. So you might as well have a bowl of ice cream at that point, Do it right.
Cheesecake Factory.
Ed Pariso bought me a very nice gift certificate. I never thanked him on the air. I thanked him on cell phone, but I didn't thank him. He sent me a nice I forget how much he gave me. It was a nice gift card for the Cheesecake Factory for just being a friend of his, and I guess he wanted to just say thank you and stuff like that. And I haven't gone yet, but that was very nice of him. So, but I don't. When I go to the Cheesecake Factory, I don't even order cheesecake.
I do.
Do you know the first time I ever went to the Cheesecake Factory? I believe it started in Santa Monica, right? That was the first one, or right around there, around Venice somewhere.
Not Santa Monica. I think it was over there in Marina Del Rey.
Marina Del Rey. Okay, I always confuse those. And so after one of my shows, I flew out to California. That's what everyone did in the 90s, do photo shoots. And we went to Cheesecake Factory, and I ate everything in sight there. Oh, no, we had gone out to dinner someplace else and stuffed ourselves. And then we went to the Cheesecake Factory just to get cheesecake. And I got chocolate chip cookie dough cheesecake. And it was so rich. Like, the cheesecake alone is fine. Adding chocolate chip cookie dough to it was way too much. I couldn't even get down a quarter of the piece. I was so stuffed already from the meal I ate already. It was nauseating, but it tasted pretty fucking good, I got to tell you. What a great idea! Now they're all over the place. You can get a Cheesecake Factory. I think in every state they have them now.
I remember seeing in Marina Del Rey, Dave, do you remember Tony Pearson used to look like Michael Jackson?
Yeah, he still does.
I mean, he really did though. He
still does. He looks even more like him now because he's not as big.
Well, listen, I'll tell you how much he looked like Michael Jackson, even though he was buff to the hilt. This had to be like 87, and I was at the Cheesecake Factory. And he came into the restaurant, and this is L.A., and like the whole restaurant turned.
Oh, they actually thought it was Michael Jackson?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
He had the sunglasses on at night, the red leather jacket. No, he had a black leather jacket.
He had a great physique back in the day.
Oh, killer physique, man. Killer.
He reminded me of like Aaron Baker. They had those crazy, wacky physiques. Probably two of the most underrated bodybuilders.
Oh, Tony was incredibly underrated.
He had that wacky back.
Oh, he'd get peeled with like the smallest midsection and big vacuum, big peak biceps, crazy lats. What was his nickname when Vince McMahon, your buddy, took him over to the?
I know that's the Jet Man.
Yeah, I know. You can't. I know. Like I'm stumping you on something.
He was ahead of his time. I really think he was one of the most underrated. I think you know what happened. He never really got really ultra shredded. He had trouble
he
peaking.
did. There were years he got peeled out of his mind.
Yeah.
They still overlooked him. Oh
they
yeah,
did?
of course. Yeah, there was years he got crazy peeled.
I didn't know that. I did like his physique though. He was playing in an era where the guys were just crazy great, and I think that if he was around today, he'd probably be winning, shows left and right.
He is around today.
Well, I mean, if he was competing today,
You should get him on Live With.
Yeah, he'd probably be. He's on. I see him on my Facebook a lot. So he's definitely. I forget where I saw him recently.
Probably at the Olympia. He's in Vegas.
Maybe I saw him at the Olympia. You might be right. It's possible.
He did. If you want to be entertained, Google Tony Pearson, Tina Plackinger, World Couples Bodybuilding Routine.
Oh, they competed in couples together?
Oh, phenomenal routine.
People don't even know what that means, probably. That they didn't even realize that they had couples.
I mean, A+ smoking routine. He choreographed it. It was him and her, and they posed to. Can you imagine? I can remember Purple Rain.
Really?
And it was on like ABC Sports or something.
Oh wow!
And the choreography was absolutely sensational. And then he won it the year after with Juliet Bergman, and it was also phenomenal.
I'd love to see that. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere.
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah, I've looked it up somewhere. That's how how impressed I was with it.
See, Chris Aceto lets out. You got a lot of good stories in you. I let my stories out a lot quicker than you. You're but we forget them. That's the problem, you and I.
Yeah.
Speaking of release, my dad was released from the rehab shitty place he was in, and he's back at his Gulf Coast Village, luxury assisted living place. I go visit him on Saturday, I guess it was, and my wife Amanda and I were like, "Oh, it's so nice here. It's beautiful, peaceful, smells nice, beautiful, ambiance."
Wait till you get the bill.
Well, I mean, he's been living there, so I mean, I'm like so happy he's back because he was in this disgusting rehab place after he had his hip redone for 8 weeks, which my dad didn't care. He loved it there. I videotaped him and his roommate arguing with each other, and my dad is like, "What are you trying to grab my dick?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, I don't know who you think you're trying to grab or what you think I'm trying to grab, but you better stay off my side of the room." And my dad's like, or else, what are you going to do? I thought they were going to go to the war with each other, wheelchair war.
Well, that's okay. My father is in a room that he shares.
Yeah.
And he fought with the roommate so bad that they gave him his own private room for the price of the room where you share, because the nurses could not deal with him in another room with another human being.
Yeah.
So they just said, "Screw it, we're going to give him his own private room, and we're just going to charge him the double occupancy."
That's awesome. Yeah, my dad is insane, and my dad was calling him Joe because he thinks it's his friend Joe. He was confusing him, and this guy's name he's like, "My name is Fred Farmer." My dad says, "You don't sound like a farmer. You sound like you're from Texas to me." The conversations were so disjointed. And I was videoing, and so my dad's like slicker than you think. So my dad's like, "What are you taking pictures?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "How do I look?" He's so vain, my father. He goes, "Take a profile shot of me." It was so disjointed. I'm like, I can't. I'm in an insane asylum. I'm certainly. I think I'm losing my mind. They said sitting here, crazy.
Yeah, you will.
So anyway, so Sunday morning. I get a phone call from Gulf Coast Village where my dad is. I'm like, and every time I see the number pop up, I cringe because I know something's wrong. They don't call when something's right. They call when something's wrong. I'm like, please don't fall. Please don't have fallen again and break the other hip. Please, 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 please. Your father can't urinate. We're going to send him to the emergency room. I said, he just got back there. I said, he had a catheter in like for 8 weeks because my dad's got urination issues. I don't know. I think it's more psychological than anything else. And I said, it's been out for 2 weeks, the catheter. He's been peeing fine. He was peeing fine in the shithole he just came from. I said, well, I don't understand it. Well, he's only been there for a day and a half. He's complaining, we got to send him. We just want to get your permission. I'm like, send him. What am I going to? I'm going to be. It's like when you have to bring your dog to the vet, and they're like, well, we really have to do this surgery. And what are you going to say? Don't do it? Yeah, you know what? We'll kill my dad. Let him die. Now, so he goes there. So I go down to the hospital. I call there. What's going on? We put a catheter in him. You can pick him up and take him home, which means he's driving them crazy there probably.
Sure.
So I get down there.
They want to get rid of him.
I get down there, and everyone's like, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm like, you know it's a bad sign when everyone in the emergency room of a place you just moved to 8 months ago knows you. Okay?
Yeah.
That's a problem because that means my dad's been there. It wasn't because they know me because I've been there. They know me because I'm always there administering to my dad in some way or another. And the nurse who was taking care of him, she's like, oh, Sal's back. I said, yeah, Sal's back, unfortunately. I said, what the hell happened? Well, we don't know. We might have a urinary tract infection. It doesn't look like it, but we're going to treat him anyway. I said, well, how long has he got to keep this catheter in? Well, he's got to make an appointment with the urologist. I said, but what if they pull it out and they got to put it and they can't pee again? So I don't know. My dad's he's at that age now where everything is just going wrong. When I went to pick him up, Chris, he was eating in the meal hall there, and I said to him, I said, Dad, what's up? Are you ready to go home? He's like, what are you doing in my dream? I said, Dad, this ain't no dream. It's reality. Pack your shit. Let's go. He's like, are you serious? I said, yeah. He goes, I must be losing my mind. I said, you certainly are.
Yeah, you did.
Are. So that's
past tense.
Now, I don't know if you've been following this. We've talked about Dr. Tony Hughes on the show, also known as Anthony Hughes, our friend over there at Enhanced Athlete.
You've made predictions. Is that...
Yeah, I told him, I've made the predictions to him. I said, Tony, you're crazy for the stuff you sell, the DNP and the SARMs and, all the peptides. I said, aren't you worried about, the government? No. So there's some guy out in California. He owns a supplement company, and his business model is he just sues people. His name is Robert Toller. He's a lawyer. He owns a supplement company out there in California. And what he does is he sues people who sell these gray market supplements, saying, look, by them selling these things, like Tony Hughes is selling SARMs, you're preventing me from selling real, supplements, natural supplements, because who the hell's going to buy a natural supplement? They can go buy your stuff that's not legal, that I can't sell. He owns a company called Athletic Extreme. And it sounds like he's got a good, he's making a good point, because it is hurting legitimate companies. But the people buying these drugs are not people that are going to buy natural supplements anyway. So, they feel that Tony Hughes feels like they're getting shaken down. So Tony Hughes has got a partner, Scott Cavell.
Well, he is getting shaken down. I mean,
yeah, he is. No, that's what this guy does. They're both. What I say, this guy's a parasite. He just sues other people to make money. He doesn't really do anything else. And but Tony, he knows that what they're doing is borderline gray market, skirting the edge of what's cool and what's not cool.
Put it mildly, but go ahead.
Put it mildly. Now, you and I are both very anti-DNP, very dangerous drug. There was an arrest made or a raid that was done in the UK where they were making the DNP for the Enhanced Athlete Europe website. I guess they must have different corporations set up in different countries where they distribute their products. So on the Enhanced Athlete website, they're like, don't worry about the raid in the UK. We're going to fulfill all the orders from the United States office from now on. And they somehow directed people, I saw, over to the to some kind of a fertilizer website to get the DNP, which was actually which had the same address as the Enhanced Athlete building, where the offices are there. So I don't know. To be honest with you, I like Tony, and Tony's actually texted me or WhatsApp me from Thailand. He's over there. I don't know if he's hiding out or he's just
from jail.
Yeah, no, he's over there with the he has his wife, his girlfriend, and what do they call those lady boys? You know what the lady boys are over there?
Boyfriend. Yeah.
Well, you're gay, so you know that stuff, right?
Yeah, boyfriend.
The lady boys. They're
it's transvestite.
Yeah, they're transvestite. Men that dress up as women and they have boobs and stuff like that. So that's his new thing he's into. Anyway, so he said to me, "Look, Dave, because we were supposed to do an interview 2 weeks ago when this taller guy launched his lawsuit against him, and because what they're doing is they're harassing him. So this guy, taller, says he's being harassed because they're waging a harassment campaign against him and his firm." By saying that he's a greedy lawyer trying to intimidate small business owners.
Well, that may be true, but when you're, I don't think there's any good news about selling DNP to people who probably, think how, I can't even turn on my TV, Dave. I have TVs in the house that I have no idea how to turn them on. So think how stupid that is. So equally as stupid as people seeing ads for like DNP, lose 10 pounds this week.
Yeah. No. I agree.
They'll see ads on the internet and just go out and buy the damn thing. I would. I'm the same guy who can't turn on the TV. If I'm that stupid, then people can be that stupid to think that they can lose 10 pounds, and not hurt themselves in 1 week.
I told him, I said, I think what you're doing is don't you think it could be construed as being a little irresponsible? He's like, no. So anyway, we're going to get Tony Huge on the TV show. He's supposed to call in Monday.
For what?
To tell me what's going on. Update me. I want to know what's going on with the raid.
Oh my God.
He's an open book. He's not going to hold back anything. You know how people say, don't talk about it.
It's a free ad for him. It's a free ad.
He doesn't care. He's going to talk about it. So we're going to talk about Lady Boys. We're going to talk about the UK raid. And we're going to talk about
recreational drugs, because you got to be doing something.
The taller lawsuit out there, and he's going to give me the whole kit and caboodle about what's going on. So rather than me speculate, I'm going to ask him, because he's like I said, he's so open about it that it's actually scary. Like sometimes I want to say, "Shut up, stop talking," but that's his shtick. He knew this was coming. He told me this 6 months to 8 months ago. He said, "I know they're going to raid me eventually." He goes, "I'm ready. I'm ready for them." I said, all right. He's ready like Jared Wheat, who's over there at High-Tech Pharmaceuticals now. I see there's a $40 million judgment lodged against
what's happening there? So tell me who Jared Wheat is.
All right, so Jared Wheat is the CEO. He runs High-Tech Pharmaceuticals.
Which is who?
They produce supplements.
They produce that sleeping supplement that I used to love.
They have their big name brands are Fastin, Stimurex, Benzarine, Lipodrine. They own that name. He owns Blackstone Labs with PJ. He owns part of Aaron's company, Redcon. He bought Kaspari Nutrition. He owns VPX, Jack Owak's company. He owns everything. He buys up all these companies.
So he's like the kingpin of supplements,
right? And he's been selling DMMA, which is like a Patrick Arnold, I think, originally isolated. It's like a crazy stimulant. Remember the clear shots you drank?
Yeah. You take a little sip of it.
Yeah. Well, his is in a pill form, but it's the same compound. And the government says it's illegal to sell. He's been fighting them and winning lawsuits and everything like that. So they put some kind of injunction against him, and he can't sell it anymore, or at least temporarily while he appeals it. And this is, he's facing a lot of problems. But he seems to, from what I understand, and I've talked to him once, he likes to fight these lawsuits. He's into the litigation. I don't know why. To me, it's so stressful. Yeah, until you lose. He's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of lawyers, and I guess he can keep this thing ongoing. But I wouldn't want to fight. The last person I want to fight is the government. It's not worth it. The FDA, you never win, because what they do is they don't stop. They just keep coming. It's like John Gotti when they went after him. He beat him how many times? And he thought he was got the last laugh, and they just don't stop until they get something.
Well, they have an open pocketbook.
Exactly, and there's always some dummy getting arrested who's willing to rat out someone else, and that's how they get you. And that's how they got Gotti. They got Sammy the Bull, not Jimmy the Bull, Sammy the Bull, Gravano there. He decided to rat out John Gotti, and they got the evidence they needed. So I'm sure the FDA will eventually find someone, who's going to rat Jared out. I don't know what he's doing that they would rat him out about, but it's I guess it's interesting what he's doing because I don't know anyone else who would want to do this, and it probably will be a movie of the week. I predicted that the Tony Huge story will be a movie of the week for certain.
Yes, you did.
It might not be a movie of the week. It might actually be a blockbuster like The Wolf of Wall Street was. Look at that lunatic, Jordan Belfort, went to jail, scamming people, and they made a movie out of him. He's probably making more money now, probably doing book tours and shit. So, I don't need any drama in my life. These things scare me. I'm like, you know what? Going to jail once was enough. I'd rather lay low like that.
Twice is what? You're going to finish the sentence?
No, I said there is no twice.
Once is enough. Twice is
way too much. Twice is stupid. If you go to jail twice for the same type of crime,
you're going 3 times.
No, you're an imbecile. Look. I had a friend who said to me, he goes, "Dave, do you want to be a career criminal, or do you want to just get out of this?" I said, "I'm not a criminal." I said, "I don't know what I did. I was a bodybuilder. I got sucked into it." I said, "I don't want to do this anymore." He's like, "Then fine, but if you want to continue to be you want to be a criminal, then just lie, cheat, steal, and sell out whoever you want, because that's what criminals do." So obviously, I decided I wasn't going to be a criminal anymore, and I did my time, and that was it. So anyway, I'm looking forward to interviewing Tony Huge. I always want to ask him about supplements, and he always wants to talk about sex and stuff like that, and all his escapades that he's got going on. But we'll talk about everything. I'll do a nice interview with him, all the way from Thailand. Did you know that a massage in Thailand is $3?
Well, I know you can go to Thailand and live incredibly. It's one of those countries where you can live like the king on a short budget.
That's where Stridham lives. Gary Stridham moved there.
It's where, remember, DJ used to live.
Oh, DJ did live there for a while. You're right.
DJ, he was there for a long time when he used to put out the crazy 400-pound photos.
Yeah. Well, he was smart. It was probably the drugs were probably cheap. I know. Wasn't that when they got in trouble? Him and Milos were mailing shit to each other, something like that.
I don't know what the deal. I don't know what the deal was. I just knew that he lived there and. For the longest time. He
was smart because he lived out of the country, and you know what? He can do the drugs he needed to do for bodybuilding. I'm talking about the steroids, and they weren't illegal where he was doing them. So who's smarter than DJ? DJ's the genius when it comes to that stuff. He always finds the right situation to put himself in.
Yeah. So there was, he had the. I had heard that it was, he had the crazy house, and it was cheap, and food is cheap, and. You can have a maid cheap, and now you tell me you get a $3 massage, and if you're Tony Huge, and you get your lady boys for $3.
Oh my God! Actually, in this article, it says that the face of Enhanced Athlete is Dr. Tony Huge, a 35-year-old who founded a law firm in Sacramento specializing in consumer bankruptcy. Mr. Hughes is not a defendant in the litigation, but he owns and licenses out the Enhanced Athlete name. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how
he's thinking like a lawyer.
Yeah, he removed himself from the.
Possible. That's why he bragged to you about kind of like bring it on.
Yeah.
He thinks he's insulated himself, but there's something called the RICO Act.
Oh, you think they're gonna tie him in that way?
Which means kind of like if you smell like marijuana from being in the neighborhood where they smoke marijuana, then you're guilty as charged of selling marijuana.
Well, he is helping to hawk. He's on the YouTube channel that he runs. He's taking the supplements. He's taking the gear and the drugs on there that they're selling on the Enhanced Athlete. So even if he doesn't own Enhanced Athlete, you might be right. He might be facilitating. I'll ask him. He's a lawyer. He knows all this stuff. That's the great thing about him. He'll answer me as a lawyer. He's not going to answer me in these just generalizations, which is great. What else? Oh, one of my, one of my favorite people to read books by is Wayne Dyer.
Wayne Dyer,
who passed away.
Did I try to finish your sentence for you? Wayne Dyer.
You did. Okay, but Wayne Dyer was the publishing company that was publishing his books was Hay House. And Louise Hay, who owned Hay House, just died. I didn't know that. She died on August 30th of this year. Mm-hmm. Natural causes at the age of 90, which is good. That's how I'd like to die, of natural causes, age 90, with all my wits about me. I refuse to be, kooky like my dad, and I don't want no Alzheimer's. I refuse that.
Don't stop working then, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Even though we work too hard, go ahead. Yeah, I told you when I tried to defend myself, and I told my wife I don't really work, and she told me, if you think getting up at 5 a.m. and staying up to midnight 7 days a week is like normal.
It's not. No.
Anyways.
She at 40 years old, she decided she wanted to start her own publishing house. And they're like, what are you, crazy? No one starts their own publishing house, much less at 40 years old. She's like, I'm going to publish spiritual books. She did it. She started. It's huge now.
Yeah. So Wayne Dyer, what's the?
So no, this is not. This is about Louise Hay, who died. And
okay.
Here's a great. I have 2 quotes of the week this week because we didn't do one last week. I don't think we did one last week.
No, we did not.
No. So her quote of the week. It's from her, Louise Hay. In the infinity of life, where I am, all is perfect, whole, and complete. I'll read it again. In the infinity of life, where I am, all is perfect, whole, and complete. And I think that's a really wise. Some people might think it sounds too optimistic, but but when you think that way,
well, she looks at the glass half full.
No, it's not even that. If you think that way, you create more great stuff in your life. I think so many people look at their life as a failure, or as it's not right, and they're waiting for it to get right, and in 6 weeks when they get past the surgery, it's going to be right, or in 12 weeks they'll start their diet, it'll be right. And you have to see every moment as being perfect, whole, and complete. And she says it, and if you do that and believe that and feel it and experience it, I'm telling you, you're going to create great things in your lives. At the worst times in my life, and I'm trying to think of the worst times, probably one of them would be, and recently, because I wasn't this spiritually mature way back when. I think when I was waiting to see if what I was going to be sentenced for in jail. I remember Rick Collins and I had gone out to San Diego and I was going to be sentenced. And before I went there, I just had this calm about me. And I said, you know what? I was looking at the flowers and the trees and smelling the air. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm free now. But, even though I might be in prison, I didn't know how long I was going to go for because I don't know what they were going to sentence me to. I'm like, everything's pretty good right now. I feel good. And, it went better than I thought. And that, part of my life was over with eventually and on to other things. So sometimes you have to smell the roses. You have to have something bad happen to you. Don't wait for that. Always, if things are not going right, just take a step back and say, hey, you know what? Things are not that bad. Think about what's right and say, you know what? Everything's in the right time, because you can get overwhelmed. I'll lay in bed at night sometimes and I'll be like, all right, I got to get both shoulders replaced. I got to get my quad fixed again. I got to go to the doctor to make sure that, my heart's still beating. I have this rash on my ass. I don't know what it's causing it. I have this hurt. My throat's hurting me. I hope I don't have throat cancer. And I have what else? My hair's falling out. And when are they going to get stem cells for the hair so I can replace that? And maybe I should try PRP on my shoulder first before I go for this. And and then you're up all night because you can't fucking. All you're doing is thinking about all the terrible things that are wrong with you. Stop. Just think about the good things. Think about what happened today. What did you do today? You had to do something that was great today. You know what? I spent an hour with my son while my wife was working or taking some kind of online course, and we went and played in the pool together. And we splashed each other and we were laughing. Think of something like that. And I'm telling you, all the terrible stuff just goes away. Because the bottom line is you have no control over how getting it all done. It'll get done. When I moved from New York to Florida, I had to the amount of things that I had to do to make this happen were incredible. And so I just thought about one thing at a time, and that's how I did it. Same thing with bodybuilding. A lot of people don't, and this is where I was going. I was coming back to bodybuilding with it. You cannot look at pictures of Flex Wheeler and say, I'll never look like that. Look, I look like fucking dog shit. No, you don't do that. You take one day at a time and you say, okay, what's the first change I want to make to my physique? All right, you know what? I need bigger legs. I'm going to really work on my squats. I'm going to make sure I get enough nutrition in. Or, you know what? I'm getting ready for a show. I can't control how much muscle I have, but I'm going to make sure I'm the most shredded I could possibly be on stage. And that's what you go after. So don't look at life as being this overwhelming, overbearing burden that you can never handle. It's got to be broken down and understand in the moment where you are right now, everything's perfect.
Well, the hardest part is to live in the moment. That's the very hardest part of life.
I read, 14 Wayne Dyer books.
That's the very essence of enjoyment is being able to live in the moment. That's the whole point to, don't sweat the small stuff or whatever that book is.
Yeah.
The small things bring you pleasure, because it's fear of the future, or anxiety of the future, which is not here yet, or the regret of the past that just either one of those is going to keep you from living in the present right now.
Yeah, I agree. And in that same light,
having said that, how is your shoulder? And are you going to get your? Do they have? I'll make you worry about all those things. How are you going to? You got a busy week coming up.
Yeah. My left shoulder is actually. I'm actually going to the doctor on Wednesday, so maybe he'll clear me for working out. It feels good. My left shoulder now, the one I got replaced, feels better than the right shoulder. When I get up off the floor, I can lean into my left shoulder and push it off the floor, whereas before it was anything that would require stabilization of my shoulder would be brutally painful. Yeah. And my right shoulder is way better than my left was, but right now, the way it is, my new shoulder is better than the right shoulder. So. Mm-hmm. I definitely, at some point, we have the baby coming in December, so I'm not going to be doing it anytime soon. But I will do the right shoulder next year, maybe next summer. That's if we can swing it. That'll be the next thing I do. But there's always some kind of new thing. Now my blood sugar. My wife has gestational diabetes. I don't know if your wife ever had that. Like her blood sugars are running high. Yeah. It happens a lot of times when you have kids and when you're pregnant. So I'm like, she's testing a blood sugar now. So I'm like, let me test my blood sugar. Now we had just gone out. We had just gone out for like fettuccine Alfredo I had eaten in like half
75.
No, it was high. It was high. So I'm like, what do you? How can my blood sugar be higher than yours? I said, you caused this. I said, by your freaking pregnancy, I'm getting like gestational diabetes by association. And so now I'm paranoid about my blood sugar because I've been eating a lot of carbs because I only eat twice a day and I overeat at those 2 meals, even though I don't gain any body fat from it. So I've been testing so since I started testing my blood sugar and I've been eating a little cleaner. It's been normal, but I had one day I woke up with higher fasting blood sugar. So I have this, I called Colette, of course. She's my insulin expert, diabetes expert. And I said, what do you think? And she's like, well, she wants to put everyone on insulin. She's like, you should be taking, I think, first she wanted to give me a short-acting. I said, I don't need a short-acting insulin. I said, I think I need a long-acting insulin. I said, I think my beta cells are not working as strongly as they should be. What if I took long act? So we're putting together a whole protocol. I'm going to do a whole show on insulin management and life extension because
Oh wait, you better not. You're going to have Milos on.
Of course, I'd have Milo. Who else would I have on? Colette and Milos. That would be a show on insulin. But seriously, there's been some studies now where they're showing that long acting insulins, people are taking them for longevity purposes because they're saying that tighter blood sugar. Even in other words, you might have relatively normal blood sugars, but they're still a little high. And they're saying that over the course of 20, 30 years, it becomes cumulative. And they think that dementia and some of the diseases of aging could be caused by poor blood sugar control. And by taking a little extra insulin, long-acting insulin, not like at every meal, like once a day, you could keep better, tighter control of your blood sugars and take the burden off your pancreas a little bit. And they're saying that it has some anti-aging properties because of that. So I'm going to explore some of that with her. We're going to have some talks about that and see. I might do some insulin experimentation. I'll have to, of course, keep Milos in the loop about it because I don't want it to be down on any insulin research that might be coming out. Especially if I'm doing any controlled studies on myself. So.
Oh, I thought I have a new show for you.
What?
I think you need like a bodybuilding Jeopardy show.
Except I have no memory. We'd have to get like Milos on there. Nasser would be good on that show, but he's not alive, unfortunately. Who else has like a photographic memory that we know out there?
Oh gosh, Romano's got a pretty good memory.
Yeah, but he's stoned all the time. He can't remember that much. He's not that good as you think.
He can make it up that he pretends he can remember.
Who has like
Jay has a photographic.
Jay has a very good memory. He does.
Yeah.
George has a good memory, but he's got so many lies mixed in there that we're not sure what's real and what's not. Who else has a really good memory? I'm trying to think. I bet Jose would be good.
You could have all good. You could have like all interesting subjects. You could disperse bodybuilding stuff with nutrition to training questions.
Alex, insulin for 100. Name this type of insulin that is not super fast acting, but is intermediary fasting.
Yeah, well,
Milos, what is Humulin R?
No,
that
Milos
is correct.
Would have to fight with Alex Trebek, which would be you.
Yeah, Alex, that's not true. You have to do.
I was just doing the research. I was just doing the research.
Alex, insulin for $200. This insulin came out in 2016.
What animal? What you got started from the basic? What animal does insulin was insulin in 1949? First Drivetron.
Milos, yes, that Alex, that is pig. That is correct, Milos. Insulin for 300.
No. Insulin mimicking amino acids. That would be an interesting one because he'd get all those right too. This branched chain amino acid increases insulin secretion in the pancreas, independent of carbohydrate intake. What is leucine? Ding!
Oh my god! So yeah, that's the story. A lot of. This is the kind of the time of the year when things start to calm down a little bit. Although, like I said, we have the NPC Nationals coming up, which is going to be a big, big show. We got San Marino coming up, pro show. We have the Ferrigno Legacy Classic coming up. So there's still some big hitters out there. I don't think we'll have the lineups at these shows, Chris, that we're going to have at the some of the smaller shows.
No, you never know.
I mean, some of the bigger shows, but we're definitely going to see some good guys out there who are going to try to. What people don't realize is they're giving out Olympia invites for next year. So it's crazy if you're a guy who can stay in shape, not to do these shows. So I'm looking at the schedule. There's still Mel Chancey's got his show on Halloween weekend, the 27th and 28th.
What is the Hell's Angels?
Him and Tim Gardner are putting that show on, so that'll be a good one.
Is a nice guy? No, I'm doing word association. Tim Gardner.
Yeah. I'll probably go down to that one. That one's right in my backyard here.
What is getting in trouble with your wife?
I'm thinking about bringing the wife and the kid for an hour. I said, how about we go for an hour just to say hi to everyone? She's like, I could do an hour. We can stop at the restaurant. There's like a restaurant over there.
Yeah, but when you're pregnant, an hour can become. I mean, you can all of a sudden, your blood sugar could crash. Yeah. You could be in the worst mood, like just too tired.
Yeah. Unfortunately, our blood sugar won't go down enough. That's the problem. But I know what you're saying. First of all, my hour. You know how you always say to your wife, 10 minutes. 10 minutes. It's like 2 hours later.
Oh yeah.
Honey, the show will take an hour. My wife's like, no. There's never been a show that you.
I agree with her. Take you, Dave, 1 hour to get through the door.
No, you're right. But when we do the radio show, I'm like, all right, I'll be back in an hour. She's like, you and Chris have never done a radio show that lasted 1 hour ever.
No. Listen. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 10 minutes is 1 hour. When we're at the Olympia and you try to get out the door.
It's terrible. You're just. I have a problem getting through the expo.
I just mean
no. I have a problem getting through the expo. You have a problem getting
the expo.
You have a problem getting through getting out of the show arena. That's where people grab you. They love to grab Chris in the show arena. They grab me in the expo. Like all the super fans there, all the competitors grab you in the. And they want to know what you think. Even George.
Yeah, I do like a personal play-by-play.
George, Chris, what do you think?
Fantastic.
Love it. What do you think? What do you think?
Boots could have been a little bit
Kai, right? Kai, get it?
When you first came out, you were a little flat, but you tightened up as you went. And I thought the last call out, you were right there. Next guy. I thought you were a little full last year, but I don't think anyone's going to notice it. But I noticed it.
Exactly. Well, I'm looking forward to my interview with Dr. Tony Huge. Hopefully, we will get the story out of him and see what's going on with him. He's the most exciting thing going on in the industry right now. So
that's strange.
I will say one thing. I mentioned. I don't know if I mentioned on the last radio show, but I definitely mentioned on my Day in the Life of video, which we've been doing a lot of on the. A lot of people like the Dave Palumbo Day in the Life of. My new video guy Tyler has been following me around with the video camera, and I've been just chatting into it, and people seem to like that. Anyway, I showed the new book I got from Bill Llewellyn, Anabolics 11th edition. It's like 10,000 pages, this thing. It's like, seriously, the book weighs 5 pounds, Chris. That's how heavy it is.
What is in it?
It's everything you want to know about anabolics.
I know, but what could you
peptides.
want to know?
It's like you remember the old Encyclopedia Britannica?
No, but what do you really need to know?
Well, people want to look. I have to relate. I can relate to because I was obsessed with steroids. Before I ever took a steroid, I probably read everything you could possibly read about it, which wasn't a lot back then. Nowadays, there's a lot more. But I read Bill Phillips' Anabolic Reference Guide about 25 times just to get an idea of what I was dealing with before I actually got into taking that first injection. And so people, who take steroids like to read about them and know about them. And once again, it's a great reference book. It's not a book you sit down and read like a regular fictional novel. It's something you read, when you're sitting on the toilet. So I've been carrying the book, and I'm selling it, at a nice discounted price for all my people out there. And we've been selling so many of these books. My wife, she packs all the orders, and we sold like 50 books like in one day, and they're really heavy. I'm like, Amanda, I'll bring the books down, because I'm the crippled one because of my shoulder. But she's, now she's starting to really show. She's, 6 months pregnant, 6.5 months pregnant, so 30 weeks. I'm like, look, I'll carry the books down. You don't have to carry all these books down. Like I said, they're super heavy, these books, but. They're available at DavePalumbo.com if anyone wants to get a hold of it. Also, the Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course which is set to take place December 2nd here in Cape Coral, Florida. The next one, it's almost booked. I think I have 5 spots left. So we've sold a lot of seats. So if you guys are interested in coming down for that, it's a good time of the year. It's kind of downtime. Nothing's going on. It's a great time to come to Florida because it'll still be 90 degrees here, and I'm sure by December 2nd it'll be freezing every place else. Just go to DavePalumbo.com and sign up and reserve your spot because I'm telling you, once it fills up, I only have so much room and so many chairs. So don't say I didn't warn you. What else do I have to talk about? I think that's it.
We at war yet? The country?
No. Has Trump been impeached yet? Because I know you predicted that.
No, I didn't. I impeached it. I told you that he was going to be elected, and I told you multiple times the first week that I said, please write it down because he'll be impeached. And then I saw that Steve Bannon from Breitbart News made a prediction this week that he said he predicts there's only a 30% chance that he'll last the full term.
I think if anything, he'll quit. He won't get impeached. He'll never allow anyone to impeach him.
Good point. He might drop a personal nuke on them.
Yeah. There's a lot of crazy motherfuckers out there, I'll tell you that much in this world. With the North Koreans thinking that we're declaring war on them. And, Trump looks like the sane one, compared to all these nutcases out there.
Really?
I think so. Wow. There's a lot of crazy freaking people out there. I don't know, the Iranians, everyone thinks, we're out to get this one, we're out to get that one. Why doesn't everyone just mind their own business? How come these countries can't just we have borders, right? It's not like the old days. Chris, it's not like the old days where we're trying to get more land, take over other countries. Hey, let's invade this country because we need more land. No one's doing that anymore. Everyone's got their borders. Stay the fuck inside your country and leave everyone alone. I don't get what the problem is. What the fuck is the problem? Why can't people just stay in their borders and take care of your own country? Why do we have to fucking police the whole world? Yeah.
Well, because we have interests that.
Because there's a lot of nutcases that don't want to stay within their own country. That's why we have to go out there and protect the country, protect the world.
That's one.
And we have to make sure we have oil flowing. You know that.
Yeah. We'll always. My favorite. We'll kill anyone for oil.
Yeah. Once we get, what do you think would happen once the oil is not important anymore? Once we have an alternative energy fuel source?
Well, you know what? I saw somebody on Bloomberg the other day predict, which I don't believe, because that might be a poo-poo to Oxygen Jim. I was just kidding, Beta. That oil could drop to $10 with the electric revolution, battery revolution, blah 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 blah, which I highly. Well,
you still need oil to turn the turbines to make.
No, you need to make plastics and stuff. I mean, and you know what? Do people really want to drive electric cars?
I
some
love
do.
my Mercedes.
Some
but
do.
I'll drive. I don't care. I'll drive an electric car if it's cheaper.
Oh, you are.
Save
If it's cheaper, you know.
and if it'll save the environment and get us off oil, I'll do it. I don't care.
Oh, I have to say, you know, speaking of saving the environment, this is what's the date today? October 16th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just October 16th. I'm in the most northeastern state in the United States, and it's 75 every day. Every day.
It's still warm there. I know, but pretty soon it won't be. But it'll be warm here. You'll be getting snow soon. You'll see. It'll go from 70 degrees to 30 degrees in 1 week.
Speaking of craziness in weather, you saw hurricanes headed towards Ireland, right?
No, I didn't see that.
I think it was trying to chase down Flex. The hurricanes are chasing down. Odd, right? A hurricane headed over to Ireland. You didn't see that?
No, I didn't. That is kind of weird.
It's Category 3.
Wow. I didn't know hurricanes went that far. I thought
Neither
they were
did
only
I.
over here.
Neither did I. I don't know what happened. A snafu in the jet stream, probably.
There's people out there that think that the government is making the hurricanes. Did you hear that one? That we know how to make weather now. We can create weather, and we're doing it purposely to destroy the infrastructure of the country.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's the beauty of the internet.
Yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy theory people out there. Anyway, I have one more quote of the week before we go. Because when I go see my dad at these assisted living, I'm always thinking that I'm going to become like him.
It's the
worst. It's the worst feeling because if I didn't go see him, I wouldn't be thinking that way. But because you see him, he's acting like a kooky nut because he's got
and you
Alzheimer's.
look like him, I'm sure, right? And you got
I'm starting to see things.
You got all the mannerisms, right?
Right. I'm seeing mannerisms.
Same thing.
He's got arthritis. I'm starting to see. I go to the chiropractor. They tell me I have no cartilage in my spine. It's being compressed. Even though I'm not in pain, but they're telling me all this terrible stuff, and it's planting these thoughts in my brain that don't belong there, and I'm rejecting them.
Well,
but
you're already violating the previous quote. Then
I know. I'm trying to tell you. Here's another quote. The majority have been programmed from their past experience to expect physical decline. And while it is something they don't want, they are programmed to expect it. And so they're going to get what they expect. And it's not what they expect. And it's not that what they expect is the reality that everyone's lives. Hold on. It's not that what they expect is the reality that everyone lives, but that everyone lives the reality of what they expect. So, in other words, what you think about is what you get. And if you're going to think that you're going to decline, and you think you're going to get demented, and you think you're going to get, arthritis, you're going to get it. So I don't want to think that, but it's hard when you're always seeing it in your face to not think that. So
that quote applies to me, not to you.
It applies to both of us. Yeah, it applies to everyone out there, unfortunately. And I think we all think the terrible, my dad was a loser, I'm going to be a loser. Or my mother was a drunk, I'm going to be a drunk, And you live in fear of that your whole life, and sometimes you wind up creating it because that's all you think about.
Fear of the future, regret the past. It goes right back to that.
So I reject that. At least I say it outright. I'm saying it on the radio show. I reject. I don't know if I internally reject it, but because I got my wife saying, "Oh, you're going to be just. I hope you're not like your father."
What do you mean?
We're building a new bathroom. She's like, make sure a wheelchair could fit through the shower. I'm like, for who?
My father's in the home. No,
she's like,
just in case.
You never know. You got a bad leg. I'm like, how come you're putting me in the wheelchair and not yourself in the wheelchair? She's like, well, you're 12 years older than me. I said, great. We got to I'm making my shower wheelchair accessible, and I'm only 49 years old.
Well, I got to put an elevator in my house. Do
you really?
At some point.
What do you need now?
What
do you have, 3 floors?
3 floors is too much. Wow. How many stairs?
Are you having trouble walking steps?
I'm not gonna believe that. I'm gonna follow that quote. No, I'm fine, and I'm not gonna have an elevator, and I'm probably gonna sprint up the stairs.
I walk the stairs sideways.
No. Do you?
Yeah, I do because I'm afraid. Yeah. I've fallen on step. That's how I tore my quad. My feet are too big. I have very big feet. I have 15 feet.
Dave's feet, they're too big?
Yes, he's like Cro-Magnon. I call him Cro-Magnon because
he tried to get to 400. Small guy, but he He failed miserably.
He has the feet and the hands of a Cro-Magnon Neanderthal man, and so, and that is from probably the growth hormone and the experimentation that he is doing with his body. And I have only used maximum 50. I should have played the part where he talks about his drug cycles. I'll play that next time. People think I use a lot of drugs, but I use only 1,500 milligrams. That is including all testosterone and anabolics, and that is the truth. But some people do not believe that, and I am sure that when Palumbo he hears that, he says Nasser must take 10 times that amount, so I will take 20 times that amount so that I could be better than Nasser. Oh yeah. So anyway, I walked the stairs sideways because I figure I'm more stable that way because I have a half a quad tendon that's functioning probably, if maybe not less. So I figure sideways, my sideways muscles, whatever they are, the abductors there, I don't know what else takes the brunt of that, are much more stable, and so I walk down the steps sideways. Plus the stairs are very short, so I figured less chance of me falling off them. And it works.
Well, you can always get one of those things. Do you ever see those on TV, those little like chair lifts?
Yeah. Yeah. If I put one of those in, my son will be in it. He'll be going up and down the.
Well, you can get the tub, the walk-in tub. You've seen that on TV, right?
No.
You haven't seen it? It's like a car. It's a tub, but deeper.
Oh,
much deeper than a regular tub. Almost like a
stands
jacuzzi.
up on its own.
But you don't climb in. You just open up the door like a car door. And then you slam it shut.
I got rid of the tub. When we were redoing the bathroom, I took this humongous jacuzzi tub that was in there. I said, get it out of here. We'll never get... First of all, I've never taken a bath. I can't remember the last time I took a bath. My wife will never go into the tub because she's germaphobe, and the people who lived there before us used it, and it was a jacuzzi tub, and you can't clean the jets out. So I'm like, get this thing out of here, this monstrosity out of here. And we built a big shower stall. So... that's what I like to have a big oversized shower stall so I can get in there and I have plenty of room. And if my son wants to come in there and whatever, we want to have a party in there, we can have a party in there. That's my sanctuary. So
he could if he had the tub, he could use it as his first swimming pool, alligator free.
Speaking of alligators, my wife spotted a big, huge alligator in the backyard today, over 5 feet.
What I say?
You're right. So I have yet to see it, but she saw.
They're smelling the snakes.
I don't know what they're smelling, but they're look. If we saw a little one in there once, if there's a little one, there must be a big one in there because someone made the little one. You got a nice little son, and the little alligator is probably saying that about your son. Yeah, probably.
He's probably saying, "Oh, look, there's a little one. There must be a big one somewhere in the house."
That's right. So, anyway, that's my story. I will say one thing. I'm into snakes. I have purchased my first lizards. I purchased a blue-tongued skink. I will put pictures up of them. They're very cute, and I'm getting into those now. They're good because they don't really need to be. They don't need UV light. They can be kept like snakes, but they have legs obviously, and they have these big long blue tongues, and they're really kind of cool looking. They're from Australia, and I have 3 of them coming. I have 2 females and a male, so I'm going to try to start breeding those now too. I'm getting in big time, so we'll see. That's my. That's my strategy.
You gotta be able to. You gotta breed panda bears since they're so hard to breed.
I'd love to.
Panda bears, right?
I would love to do that.
Didn't that?
I'd love to have a zoo. That's my. If I could make a lot of money from a zoo, I would do that full time. Believe me. I love that stuff. But you ever watch movies about zoos? There's always like it's a disaster. It's like it's going bankrupt the zoo, and they have to try to raise $100,000 to keep things.
It costs a fortune to keep an animal.
Of course, and you have to have staff and doctors and vets.
Kids you can just let out in your backyard and go wild. But animals you got to treat humanely.
Yeah, exactly. There's too many rules. But I would love to have like a white tiger. They just get too damn big. That was always my dream.
I know. You're gonna add. I know you're gonna add something furry next.
I don't know.
So
I got through my mammal
chimpanzees.
Stage.
Why don't you get a little monkey for your son?
Yeah, monkeys are
like a little curious.
I'd rather have another kid than a monkey. At least they learn to talk. Monkeys look too much like humans, but they don't speak, so it's kind of like, well, yeah.
Oh, they could do sign language.
Yeah, I guess so.
Remember, what was the gorilla that did sign language? He knew all kinds of words.
Yeah, my son does
Yeah,
sign language.
him on Jeopardy fighting with Milos over insulin.
My son does sign language because he refuses to talk. He knows his, 3 words. He knows Dada. He knows the name of the cat, which is Jedi. He goes, Jed. And he's got, what else does he say? Oh, up. That's his new thing. Up, because he wants me to stand up. Up. And his new thing is he likes me to lay on the ground and we stretch. Like, he likes when I stretch, he gets behind me and pushes my back down. So he's getting into the fun stage now. He's starting to do cool stuff. So and you know what, my dad, I'll end the show on my dad's story. My dad used to tell me all the time. He still tells me about how when he was a kid he was tap dancing. They used to put thumbtacks in the bottom of their shoes. Tap dance.
Sure.
He's like, I was a tap dance. So what I did was I taught my son. My son knows how to do this little disco dance, like his grandmother taught him. Like he does this little funky move. So I said, I got to teach him to tap dance. My father will go crazy for this. I said, Logan, tap dance, and I do this tap dance thing for him. I look like a buffoon doing it, but he thinks it's hysterically funny. So he's been copying me. Except he does a pretty good job. And I showed him a video of someone tap dancing. And he was watching it because he likes videos. And now he does a little tap dance. So when I go to see my dad, I'm like, Logan, tap dance. Show Grandpa how you tap dance. And, of course, he does the tap. Eventually, he'll do it. And my dad's like, hey, it's in the genes. I used to tap dance when I was a kid. You know, he forgets he told me the story 40 times already. And every time I make him do that, it's like a new event. Did I ever tell you I used to tap dance as a kid? I said, I know. It must be in the genes, Dad. So Logan puts a big smile on my dad's face when he tap dances for him. It's like the entertainment hour. So that's we didn't really talk too much about bodybuilding, but it is what it is. And
well, sometimes bodybuilders get together. They don't talk much about bodybuilding either.
No. Congratulations to Dwayne Quamina on that 212 Phoenix victory, and of course Ariel Kadar for the fitness victory and for qualifying for the Olympia. For now, we're out of time. Until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
Good night, everyone.